With a $10 million U.S. bounty on his head, the founder of a Pakistani militant group speaks to the New York Times. I'm Catherine Rampell for the New York Times. Declan Walsh is our correspondent in Pakistan, and he joins me now from Islamabad to talk about his interview with the head of Lashkar-e-Taiba. Declan, thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
So you spoke with Hafiz Syed, who is living under the threat of a U.S. bounty on his head of $10 million. How can he afford to live so openly that he's giving interviews to the Times?
Well, Mr. Saeed says very categorically that he is not responsible, or he's not guilty of the crimes of which he's been accused. He says, in fact, that he's not, although he is the founder of Lashkar-e-Taiba, he no longer leads that group. He claims to have split from it about 12 years ago. And technically, he now heads a charity, a related charity called Jamaat-e-Dawa, which operates across Pakistan, operates a range of madrasas and hospitals and provides social services to poor people. And he says that that's his main job and that he has nothing to do with the Mumbai attacks for which Lashkar-e-Taiba is responsible. Now, of course, the United Nations, the United States, many Western governments paint a very different picture of his relationship. They say that Mr. Saeed is the effective leader of Lashkar-e-Taiba, and that Jamaat-e-Dawa, his charity, is basically a front which allows his group to operate in plain sight in Pakistan. The reason why he can operate in plain sight goes to the heart of his historical relationship with Pakistan's military. Certainly, the military intelligence played a very key role in founding his group back in 1989, 1990. At that time, the military wanted to encourage jihadi groups like his to attack Indian soldiers in Kashmir. The military claims that it's cut ties with groups such as his over the last decade. But the fact that Mr. Saeed can live in open sight, if you like, in Lahore, the fact that he's managed to evade prosecution in the Pakistani courts so successfully, even though there do seem to be at least some fairly apparent ties with Lashkar-e-Taiba, really go to the heart of his relationship with the military, and the fact that some people at least seem to think that he's someone who's worth keeping in the public eye in Pakistani life.
Right. So what is his relationship with the state right now? Are they actually protecting him? Is it sort of his own people who are surrounding his compound and protecting him at this point?
Well, at his compound in Lahore, he lives in a very comfortable middle-class area surrounded by, normal houses. Where he lives, you have a compound with a mosque, a house which is quite fortified, and some offices. And just outside, on the street outside, he has his own bodyguards, people who are ostensibly officials from Jamaat-e-Dawa. They're young, burly men, some of them carrying weapons. And then further down the street, you come to a police checkpoint, which has been erected, and where the police officers both patrol the surrounding area to make sure people can't enter the area unauthorized, or they control people who are coming to see Mr. Saeed. Now, there are two ways of looking at that. One is to say that it appears that he's been protected by the state. When I spoke to some police officers, they say, well, actually, quietly, this is our way of keeping an eye on Mr. Saeed and who comes and goes from his compound. But either way you look at it, I suppose the optics of it are bad for the Pakistani state, in the sense that it seems like this person who's accused of some very serious crimes, who has a $10 million American reward for information leading to his arrest or conviction, that he's able to live so openly in Pakistani society.
How big of a threat is he currently to both, I guess, American and Indian interests, given that there is talk of the militant organization that he's believed to be the head of is considering going sort of more legitimate and entering the political process?
Well, it's certainly early days yet, but there's a very strong sense that his organization is at something of a crossroads. Over the last decade, Lashkar-e-Taiba has not been very active in Kashmir. That's the conflict where it sort of cut its teeth, if you like. And apart from the Mumbai attacks in 2008, where it really sprang to world notoriety as having carried out these attacks that killed 166 people, 6 of whom were American citizens, the Lashkar fighters have quietly been engaged in the fight in Afghanistan. They've been going across the border from here, attacking both NATO troops and Indian diplomatic facilities in Afghanistan. So the question now really is, what happens to Lashkar-e-Taiba once American troops leave Afghanistan in number, as they're supposed to do over the next couple of years. And in parallel with that, we have Mr. Saeed now very much coming out more in public. He regularly appears on television here. He regularly addresses political rallies. And the fact that he's willing to meet a newspaper like the New York Times, who previously he didn't talk to the American media much, suggests that he's coming out more into the open. And analysts here think that that's a sign that he's trying to carve out some sort of a more political role for himself, maybe move his group away from jihadi politics, or certainly one that has a more inclusive political element. The question is whether he'll be able to pull that off, if indeed that's what he wants to do.
And he's even specifically said, right, that there was a time when military action, militant action, was important to get the world's attention, but that the strategy may be changing now.
That's right. He was referring in that instance specifically to the Kashmir conflict. The Kashmir conflict, of course, is the core conflict between Pakistan and India for the last 65 years. They fought 3 wars over Kashmir. The use of jihadi proxy groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba was at one point a very important part of the Pakistani military strategy for contesting Kashmir with India. Over the last decade, the use of those military proxies has gone down, and in tandem with that, we have now Mr. Saeed saying that militancy played an important role at that point for bringing world attention to the Kashmir conflict. But of late, he now says that he thinks that while the jihad or the militancy option is not dead, that politics is more important and that must come to the fore. So that's certainly a development on his part.
Well, Declan, thanks very much for coming on. I'll be following this story.
My pleasure.
That's all for now. Please stay with us at nytimes.com for more. I'm Catherine Rampell for the New York Times.